Welcome to the latest 2's review here at SDH. Just after Atlanta United 2 was able to come back twice and get a 2-2 result in Oklahoma City against the Energy. A really good performance where possession was dominated, outshot the opposition, and most importantly, they came back from falling behind twice on set-piece goals. Jason Longshore along with John Nelson. And John, we have not discussed this yet because the match just ended. Who was your man of the match?
Ooh, I'll go with Aiden McFadden. How about that?
You're trying to steal my answer, but that wouldn't have been my answer. But I know what you're trying to do. Why Aiden McFadden?
Because I was trying to lead you into all of the positivity that you have had this season about Aiden McFadden with all the work that he's done off of the wings and getting engaged in the play, being sound defensively. In this particular match, earning the ire of the OKC Energy with a couple of actions that I didn't think warranted any kind of ire, but they decided to be fired up about pretty much anything that they could try to goad the official into working a card. But I thought that McFadden's work off the right-hand side was strong, both offensively, defensively, not afraid to get engaged in the play, so he's my man of the match.
McFadden was good, but Darwin Mateos was the man of the match for me. Mateos earned the penalty. Really good on the dribble. Mateos and Benitez were both dangerous pretty consistently up top, and we'll talk about Benitez, who did get the opening goal for the 2's. But Darwin Mateos, 60 minutes for him, created a chance, earned that penalty, kind of out of nothing. Darwin Mateos showed a lot here as a player who was able to bounce around kind of all of the front three positions. He could drift out wide, but he, as a smaller guy, could run that central channel and be effective in it. He's one to keep an eye on. He is under contract to the 2's. He's not one of the guys who are on loan this season, and he's somebody that I think has a lot of potential area for growth. So falling behind twice is never good. The response was very good. What else stood out to you about the match?
Well, to me, you mentioned the fact that they fell behind and they came back. I think that speaks a lot to you have a very young team, and they seem to be, learning the principles that are being given to them at practice. They're sticking with what they're learning. The discipline is there. The pressure has been there. So what we've seen from the first team, we're seeing carried on with the second team as well. But I think that really, if you want to get into stick-to-itiveness, continuing to chase after it, and even then when the match was tied at 2, there wasn't a state of contentment with them being tied at 2. They were still chasing after that game winner to make it 3-2. And you had Coleman Gannon with the late chance, and they were still continuing to press and to give pressure to Oklahoma City. So I think there's a lot of optimism here with the 2's in this match.
I thought the 2's outplayed OKC Energy for the second straight time on the road. Outshot them 12-8, 58% of the possession. Each team had 4 shots on target. OKC committed 26 fouls to the 2's 20. 78% passing for the 2's. That's down just a little bit as they started to chase the game and started to take riskier passes. They held OKC to 73% pass completion, forced them to go long 76 times, which is a lot, out of 326 passes in total. 10 out of 13 on the dribble for the 2's. That's something that Gabriel Heinze likes to see with his first team as well. You want to create those 1v1 situations, and you want to win them in the attack, and the 2's did a really good job of that. They dominated the duels, 68-50. The 2's in this one. And for a young team, just over 20 years old, average age, and playing against a bigger, more physical team to dominate the duels in that manner, to dominate the aerial duels 14-8 as well, this team's got a little bit different fight to them than maybe we've seen before. The academy players a little more battle-tested, a little more hardened, but also some of the players that you've brought in like Benitez, like Stanley, coming in on loan from clubs like River and Manchester United, have a different level of experience, bringing in a couple of guys like Chris Allen and Josh Bauer, who just came out of college, a little bit older, a little more physical. They understand that kind of game. McFadden as well. it feels a little bit different from a personality standpoint with this team this year.
And you mentioned the number with the duels. I think it was 57-43. I think if my quick math is correct, when it comes to percentages for what you've won. Getting into the passing game a little bit, we've talked about Josh Bauer with his late opportunity in the second half to try to get a goal on the board for Atlanta United. But Bauer led in total passes with 87, 67 successful out of that. So a conversion rate of 77%. Led the team with 34 total passes in the opposing half. Then you had McFadden passing at a 74.5 or a 75% rate. You've got Allen passing at just under 80%, and so you're seeing a lot of high 70s and 80s when it comes to the passing percentages for the individuals for the starting 11 for Atlanta United too, in what we've seen early on this year on the road.
Ratings from SofaScore, and we'll kind of work from the top to the bottom on this one to go through each of the individuals from today's match. Tyler Wolff got the highest rating. He had the game-tying goal. Goals are always weighted super high on this, which is to be expected. Wolff needed a moment like that. I think he's been a little disappointing so far with the 2's. I think there's an expectation for him to not dominate these games, but to stand out a little bit more. And I thought he had a good match up until the goal. He only had 3 misplaced passes, 22 of 25. He won 2 of 4 duels. He won 2 of 3 on the ground. He seemed more involved. He had created a chance. He created a big chance as well. So Tyler Wolff with a really good performance in this one. Darwin Mateos was next on the SofaScore ratings with a 7.3. He was my man of the match. I thought he was dangerous consistently. Efrain Morales played 15 minutes or so, came on in a holding midfield role, which is the second time we've seen him there. He's a very large number 6 when he is in that situation, but he created a chance with his time on the field. He is physical in that role, and he's technical enough to be able to play there. It's an interesting wrinkle to see Efrain Morales playing in the holding midfield.
Yeah, it is. And Jarrett Smith has now joined us as well as we start to take a look at the match. Jarrett, we've just kind of started diving into it with OKC Energy and Atlanta United 2. What did you think about what happened out at Taft?
Let's see, I got to go back and watch most of the first half. I was busy putting a Mogwai to bed for that part. As far as the rest of it goes, I love the fight. This is something that's it's in the range of like tangible things that for the last few years I always felt like this team was at the precipice of a hill, but one of the things they just couldn't seem to get over the hill was late game situations. And the thing that's going to stick out to me for this game was the way they handled the game late. Like, I mean, you get the Tyler Wolff goal, but even after that, you didn't just shift into, hey, we got to hang on here for the draw. Now, Coleman Gannon put one over the bar at the very end, and you made OKC sweat in their own house after they gave up the late equalizer. It wasn't a, hey, we got an equalizer, now we just got to hang on. It looked like a team that decided, hey, we got an equalizer. Let's go get another one. Hell with 1 point. Let's go try and get 3. And I loved seeing that. I loved seeing just that mentality that I think is something that's really grown with this team and with this organization, especially with as many teenagers as you put on the field. And we've talked about before, like they don't look like kids. They don't act like kids anymore. They certainly didn't late in the game, and I loved that part.
Yeah, I like that 2 guys came off the bench as well, and Morales and Gannon, and each created a chance during their time on the pitch. That's something that, when players at this age don't get starting minutes, sometimes you see not pouting, not sulking, but just not the same level of impact once they come on. And with those 2, they each created a chance in their minutes, and that's a statement. I think you saw another statement in Josh Bauer, who played very well. John mentioned his passing numbers. He had 100 touches to lead the team. But the sequence from Bauer, 2 times he carried the ball forward on the dribble and went into the attacking third and continued his run, knocking Oklahoma City players into the goal as he's trying to finish one. He had a great chance that was saved by C.J. Cochran. Bauer is showing why a lot of people had him rated as a number 5 pick to begin with. I still will never understand how he fell in the second round to Atlanta United when people had Atlanta picking him 5, not in the second round, and they still pulled it off and traded the pick and got allocation money. It's still one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. He showed that he did earn a first-team contract because of this kind of play. And he's a guy who, you need him with the first team. He's got the personality to be able to deliver at that level.
And, you mentioned Bauer jumping into the play, and it wasn't the only instance of someone either from the midfield or a holding mid or from the back diving into the play. So, to see Bauer, for me, you mentioned how he ended up being, Aaron Rodgers or Brady Quinn or however you want to phrase it from an NFL perspective, dropping to a point to where you can circle back and get him. And you're seeing what was seen by the front office in this instance. And I like the early returns from what we've seen from Josh Bauer. And, you mentioned that the one that sticks into my head was where he went into the attacking third, went into the area, and if it wasn't for a little bit of Plinko, probably could have had a goal from that big charge of his. And so it's good early returns from Bauer in my view. Jarrett, what about you?
It's great seeing somebody take the opportunity and run with it in that way, where, to Jason's point about not sulking, but not just taking the opportunity and saying, I'm going to play well, but saying, I want to be why this game gets flipped. And to me, that's taking it to another level, at least the way I see it.
Yeah, he also had 5 interceptions as well, talking about jumping into the play. He did it from a defensive standpoint as well. Bauer was excellent, and he showed the type of play as a center back that Atlanta United center backs are expected to have. The comparisons to a young Michael Parkhurst are not far off. I think Bauer might have more of an edge to him in a way, which could be very interesting to see how it continues to develop. Matias Benitez, first time we've seen him on loan from River Plate. He was dangerous throughout. He had a couple of shots on target, a couple of shots off target, won 3 of his 4 dribble attempts. He did have the goal. Penalty wasn't great. It was saved. He puts in the rebound. What'd you think of Matias Benitez, Jarrett?
Is it fair that I want to see more?
No, I want to see more.
Yeah, I want to see more before I make a rash judgment. Although, I like what I saw. I will. I feel like we do this every now and then. Let's do it again. Penalties are hard, y'all. And I feel like sometimes we need to be reminded of this, that penalties are tough.
Yeah, so, he didn't take it well. I mean,
no, he didn't.
He didn't take it well, but to stick with it and be able to put the rebound in, that's a good sign.
I appreciate you not sulking on it.
Yes.
The penalties are tough, and if it's a matter of he stepped up and said, "I want this," awesome. If it got put on his plate, then he handled it well. I wasn't in that conversation, so I can't say for sure. But I want to see more. But this is good.
Yeah, I want to continue.
It's a good place to be in.
I want to continue to see him get minutes and see what he can do. I don't know where he fits exactly yet. If he's going to play out wide, if he's going to play central, that stuff's still kind of up for debate with him. But yeah, a good 2's debut for Matias Benitez. Johnny Fortune's a player we've seen before.
River probably could have used him.
He might have played for River. Yeah, he might have played for River with all of the players that were missing for them.
Literally missing everyone.
They were missing a lot, and then they lost on penalties after equalizing in the second half. I don't know if he would have gotten into that, but he's here in Atlanta instead, and he's getting significant minutes, and I want to see if we get to see him on Wednesday night against Tulsa. Johnny Fortune's a player that we have seen before. He played 57 minutes here. Good on the long pass, 4 out of 7 on the duels. He completed 72% of his passes. He did create an opportunity as well. He was playing as one of the central midfielders, kind of floating between helping out Tyler Wolff in the attack and dropping a little bit more than we see the central midfielders drop with the first team, playing with Chris Allen, who was the holding midfielder. What'd you think of a Johnny Fortune?
Once again, it's just someone that you're that we've got that knowledge base from last year, and you're seeing these early returns this year. In addition to the numbers that you mentioned, 3 clearances, tied for the team lead in that, had a tackle, gained possession 5 times from his position in the midfield as well. So, you look at what we've seen from a Johnny Fortune, and just I want to see him continue to build on that confidence that you're seeing, not continuing to be aggressive when it comes to making sure that the opponent can't get into the attacking third, and if it ends up being a situation where you do have to make sure that you're quelling a rush, that that the confidence is there to continue to act in that way. So once again, good returns for me from a Johnny Fortune. Just kind of like what Jarrett said with Benitez, I'd like to continue to see more as we see year 2 with him here with Atlanta United too.
Yeah, but something you do have to keep in mind with players. I mean, Benitez, we've seen 1 game. Fortune, we've seen more than 1 game, and you don't keep getting games just because you're there. You have to continue to do things with it. I thought Fortune did well today. You want to continue to see him progress. I thought he has progressed from where he was last year, where at times he was a little more anonymous. I thought he showed up a little bit more in this one, which is good. I want to see if he can continue to do that, because to get to the next level, and for him it's going to be to earn a professional deal, because he's still an academy player. You need more. You need more. I think he's showing that he has that potential, but it's not there yet.
Right.
Brendan Lamb is one of the players who'll be pushing. Hold on a minute, Jarrett, because I want to get your thoughts on Lamb. Lamb is a player who will be pushing a Johnny Fortune, and Lamb's a little bit younger. Lamb came on for him and played 33 minutes. 8 of 8 on his passes. He was 4 of 6 on his duels. Lamb is a guy who got a little bit of time with the first team in preseason. We saw him in that joint training exercise with Charleston. He played really well against Louisville. He played the second half, so you had a chance to see all of Lamb's minutes, Jarrett. Where do you feel like Brendan Lamb ranks right now out of the academy players who seem to be regulars with the 2's?
Rising. I don't know. I don't know where exactly I put him, but it's rising because of that. Because of him taking these chances and running with them. Because what you talked about is how I kind of feel about a guy like Will Riley, where I need to see more of it this year. Because you're not going to get those minutes just because anymore. So I need to see more from you, and you see more from a Johnny Fortune for the same reason. Because you're not just going to have those minutes. Guys are going to be pushing you. And yeah, Lamb seems to have. I don't know, je ne sais quoi, what you would call it in this instance, but it's almost, I guess it's, for lack of a better word, an edge to him.
Yeah.
That some of these guys coming up through the academy lately have. That maybe guys who came through the academy 2 years ago didn't all have, or at least they didn't have it the same way. And it seems like they're developing it, and they're showing up. They're not having to develop it, they're showing up with it.
Well, it's being in a professional environment. I mean, I think it's a little unfair to the guys who were there at the very beginning and came in at 1 year in the academy and then were on the pro
I don't
side.
mean it as an insult to them.
No, it's a different life. I mean, they had 1 year in a professional environment before they signed a deal, whereas somebody like Brendan Lamb, somebody like Caleb Wiley, Efrain Morales, they've only really known at the top level of youth soccer playing in a professional environment and with a professional academy. So you have a different mentality when you come through that. That's why somebody like Julian Gressel was able to adapt coming out of college, because he had been in a professional environment, a professional academy. That's why Chris Allen, for example, is a player who has kind of jumped straight in with the 2's and looks like he fits at the USL Championship level, because he's somebody who spent time with top English clubs in their academy, nearly broke through, didn't quite make it, came here to go to college, and he's got a different kind of grit to him because of that experience. I thought Allen was solid again today, maybe not quite at the same level as he's been in previous games. He was 79% passing, 10 of 19 on the duels. Defensively, he won 6 tackles, which is a pretty huge number for him. Allen is a guy that you don't really have somebody like him coming through the academy right now, as far as I know. You don't have that not a true destroyer. I think Allen's more than just a defensive midfielder who can only defend. But you don't have a lot of true sixes. Riley, Lamb, Fortune, they're kind of 6/8s. They're guys who can get forward, step forward a little bit more, and they're good on the ball. Allen's going to get a lot of minutes playing in that role because he's really the main guy there. And it was interesting to see Morales come in for him and get minutes in that role. Maybe that's something you're trying to develop in Morales' game because you don't have. And when you look past the first team, you have Santiago Sosa in that spot. Mo Adams, when he gets healthy, there's not a lot there at the moment. So you need to be developing somebody, and maybe it's Morales, but Allen's going to get a lot of minutes because of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, 6 tackles on the day and 3 fouls in addition to that work. And you talked about Brendan Lamb, and you're someone who turns 17, I want to say, in December. He's played, I think, 5 total matches for Atlanta United 2. But once again, because it's not just academy guys that are a part of this discussion now, you're bringing in the Bowers, you're bringing in the Allens, you have the academy guys, and there's going to be, and it was one of the storylines for me this season, is all of the competition at the level for Atlanta United 2 as to what the pecking order ends up being with all the competition from the guys that we've seen in the previous seasons and the guys that we're adding in here right now. I think it's going to be one of the interesting subplots of the year is all of the new faces in addition to everyone who's there and who ends up taking advantage of these opportunities.
So, Jarrett, I'm going to ask you what you thought of Aiden McFadden, somebody that I was really pleased with his performance today. I thought he showed a lot of attitude, really involved in a lot of different aspects of the game. But McFadden, Camden Feo, who was solid in the back. Rocco didn't have a ton to do in goal. Caleb Wiley, Connor Stanley. Out of that group, kind of what stood out to you?
Honestly, and man, I don't want to keep jumping on the same hype train because I know everybody's already got a nice seat on it. But I remain impressed with Rocco Rios Novo in goal just because not a shot stopping. Just his swagger in goal. Even late in that game where, he comes out of the box and then takes the ball off the chest, brings it down and plays it with his feet. Like the cockiness, for you call it what you will, the swagger that he has, the swagger that, a couple of these guys have shown, it's just, it sticks out to me as much as anything. Of just like the idea of not saying I think we can play with them, but saying, oh, we belong here. I belong here.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, Rocco, 36 of 38 passing. His only 2 misplaced passes were long passes. He was 3 of 5. That's the big difference that you'll see with Rocco Rios Novo and how he handles playing in goal and his work in possession versus Brad Kazan, because Rocco doesn't go long as much. He's very comfortable with the shorter passing game, and it's something that I think you'll see Brad Kazan do more of as he gets more comfortable, but he's almost like being asked to rewire the way he plays in possession. So he's getting there. I thought he had some really good moments last night in possession, but Rocco is completely comfortable playing in that manner. Go ahead, Jarrett.
Yeah, and then as well you've got you mentioned McFadden, and I don't want to neglect any of them because it's gotten to the point now where I'm like, we're to the point where I'm expecting good performances out of these guys, and not a matter of, hey, the 2's went on the road and they kind of held on for a draw. 1 or 2 guys really showed out, and everybody else was playing keep up. We're past that point now.
Yeah.
And it's gotten to the point now where what you got out of McFadden today is what I expect. Not what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, McFadden was very good. Camden Feo dropping in, playing as a center back. Caleb Wiley was okay. I didn't think Wiley was great, but he was okay. Had some moments. Connor Stanley had some flashes. I think it was the first game that Connor Stanley's played in a little while. It's his first game with Atlanta United 2 on loan from Manchester United. He doesn't have a lot of experience playing grown men, and that's something to keep in mind with somebody like Connor Stanley. He's played most of his games with Manchester United at the U18 level, I think some at the U23 level. Premier League 2, which is a U23 league. It's kind of the reserves. He has a little bit of experience there, and it's different. It's different. You're playing in front of a crowd, not a huge one as they're getting back to normal capacity, but still you're playing in front of a crowd. You're playing grown men who aren't going to back out of anything. And it felt like Stanley kind of drifted in and out of the game, maybe a little bit because of that. But I liked the flashes that we saw from him. Out of that group, John, who stood out to you? You've already talked about McFadden, but anybody else that jumped out to you?
Yeah, let me talk about Bradley Camden-Feo for a second. And what we've seen so far is that positionally, whatever is being asked of him, he is more than willing to. It's like, okay, we need you here, great. We need you as a center back, fantastic. And it's just adding to his dossier, considering that when he was here last year, there was a lot of expectation, and then injuries kind of submarined his entire season. And now I think what we're seeing is what a veteran presence at the back, or a veteran presence really on this roster, can be. And obviously with the short returns that we're seeing from Atlanta United too, but when you have Camden-Feo as a center back, 53 of 66, 80% passing from his center back position, and 18 total passes in the opposing half as well. But once again, I view Camden-Feo as that veteran stabilizer, and that for me is what I'm looking at from him. Another element of that one that we got to see this time around.
All right, so 2-2. Good fight back twice to get the result. Had a chance for a winner late from Coleman Gannon. Game got a little chippy, a lot of chirping from OKC Energy and their bench. Had a bit of an edge to it. That's good for this team to experience, and I think they've shown so far that playing in Louisville didn't seem to overwhelm them. You go out to Oklahoma City with a couple weeks apart, and you get a win, you get a draw. That's very impressive. This feels like a little bit different group this year. I think we'll see a different group on Wednesday, with Tulsa coming to town for the home opener at Fifth Third Bank Stadium. There will be a limited attendance on hand in Kennesaw State for this one. But with the first team, not playing in the midweek, it would not be a surprise to see potentially Ronald Hernandez, maybe Mateo Sosetu, maybe George Campbell, some guys who haven't gotten time. Mo Adams, Machop Chol, maybe coming back from injury, maybe getting some minutes there. There's a possibility to see a very different 11 on Wednesday night. Is there anybody potentially who you are hoping to see, Jarrett Smith?
I mean, Jackson Conway. That's Jackson Conway in the list. I mean, well, I shouldn't say in the list. I don't know how healthy Machop Chol's going to be.
Yeah, we just don't know.
Situation.
Right.
Because I really do want to see him get chances, and I think I do hate his injury happening when it did, because I think with Jurgen Damm out was a really good chance for him to grab minutes with the first team. And I think he's shown he could do that. But, the injury just hits at the wrong time.
Who are you hoping to see on Wednesday, John?
Well, in addition to Conway, I'll go ahead and say George Campbell, because I'd like to see some minutes from George and see where he is, because I know that there might have been those instances where if the situation had warranted, he would have been getting minutes. I think that I'd like to see George. I'd like to see George Campbell. I'd like to see Mo Adams if he's able to give you some minutes, to see where he is in his rehabilitation. So in addition to Jarrett's Jackson Conway, I'll add George Campbell to the mix, and possibly, Mateus Osetu getting minutes just to kind of get into match sharpness, and Mo Adams along that same line.
I asked you for one, and you went with three, and you took one of mine. Mo Adams is the one for me, because I think it's a really important part of the existence of Atlanta United too. To be able to give somebody like Adams, who's coming off of a longer-term injury, coming back from sports hernia surgery, a chance to get games to be able to contribute potentially at the first-team level. And you go back to last year, I thought Mo Adams was very, very good at the end of the season in MLS. I thought he was outstanding at times, man of the match level at times, and I was really excited to see that growth continue. Well, then he had to have off-season surgery, and now he's starting from scratch. He has been questionable on the injury list the last two matches for the first team, so this feels like a game where maybe you can find him some minutes. 45, 30, whatever he can do to start to get him back into that mix. Would love to see Mo Adams, because he could be a useful option off the bench, or potentially getting minutes with the first team when he's back to full fitness and full sharpness. So I'd love to see Mo Adams on Wednesday, along with all the other players that everybody else has mentioned. So Wednesday, John, it is 7:30 kickoff, just after 7:30 at Fifth Third Bank Stadium. Folks can watch on ESPN Plus if they're not able to attend. And we will have a live 2's review from the booth afterwards. It will only be on the app. We're going to do it very simple and easy this time. It'll be live, but it will be on the app just to make it simple for us with everything we're doing, going from calling a game to turning around and doing a 2's review podcast. But it will be live, and we will be taking your questions for those of you who watch. So, and Jarrett Smith might actually come storming into the booth. Right, Jarrett?
That's kind of the game plan, honestly.
Just come storming in like the Kool-Aid Man, right?
I like to think I'm slightly more graceful than that.
No, you're not.
Slightly.
You're actually not. I've seen you play foot golf.
Damn.
You're not.
What do you know? It's not like you've seen me play foot golf before.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's not good.
It's the John Daly of foot golf. That's all you need to know.
It is. So there's definitely the storming in.
It's a straight run up,
door.
and it's a toe right through the middle of the ball.
Right. That's how you'll come into the door and join us on the 2's review on Wednesday night. So it'll be probably in the 9:35, 9:40 range of when we will get started. But if you can make it out to Fifth Third Bank Stadium, we'd love to see y'all. If you cannot, you can watch on ESPN Plus, and if you can't do either, but you can catch up with us later, you can hear the 2's review after that. We'll have that after all the games this season. Thanks for hanging out. If you got any 2's questions, we'll get to them this week before we get to the home opener. But tomorrow on Soccer Down Here, it's Overreaction Monday. We'll talk about Atlanta and Montreal from the weekend. A late winner for Marcelino Moreno. Atlanta United got 3 points. We'll have plenty of things to talk about tomorrow with that, but stay tuned for some more 2's talk this week as well. Thanks for hanging out on another edition of the 2's Review.